Hi, Brian. I'm talking today to Brian, broker Brian from Florida, Orlando. He is one of the auction experts in the area, and we are talking and masterminding a little bit about the reasons why buyers and sellers should be able to use, an auction services to be able to buy and sell properties. How you doing, Action? How you doing, Brian? You doing okay? How you
Doing
doing?
pretty good, Fernando. How are you today?
Good, good.
Well, I couldn't be better. They just opened up our community pool this morning for the first time in 6 weeks. Folks, I apologize. I'm in my pool clothes today, but it's the beautiful thing of living in Florida.
Yeah, that's good. So over here, I'm in Maryland, and we still is kind of stuck in the house, but we're still working and we're still humming, with real estate. So that's a good thing for us. Well, but I wanted to talk to you, ask you a few questions about the action services, Brian, because we're trying to kind of inform the public, that
Sure.
because of coronavirus, I think this is an excellent way and an excellent option for some buyers and for some sellers to be able to use to buy or sell properties. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about what we talked about before, what you talk about the hybrid auction process and a hybrid real estate company. What does that mean to you, Brian?
Well, basically, Fernando, what we're doing, and the reason we're calling it a hybrid real estate is most of your auctions that buyers and sellers are familiar with are like foreclosure auctions, distressed property, short sales that the banks are trying to offer. And in those auctions, the normal auction process is that it's a completely as-is sale, no right to inspect. Basically, when you win the bid, take it, or you lose thousands of dollars as a deposit. There is no option to get out of it once you're the winning bidder. Well, what we're doing is we're kind of blending our auction to like a regular real estate transaction. The auction process itself is basically more of a marketing technique to get as many eyeballs as we can on your home, but we're still protecting the buyer a little bit when they do win the auction. From the point that the seller accepts the high bid, everything kind of moves forward as the regular transaction, meaning that we are giving the buyers the opportunity to view the property. We're giving them the opportunity to do an inspection. And we're doing it because we want it to be a safe purchase for the buyers, and it's also to the advantage of our sellers to eliminate any further liability in the future, is because we're letting them do their due diligence so that they can make an informed decision. And if for some reason they decide to back out of the deal within the first few days, well, then we just go down to the next buyer or try to find a different buyer that's going to move forward with it. So a little bit of a risk involved, but it's just a safer way to do it. It's more transparent. And in my opinion, it protects the seller more than just making someone purchase something that they haven't seen.
Yeah, exactly. I actually was talking to one of our agents, my agents the other day, and I was telling her about the difference between selling a house through the traditional way versus selling a house with an auction. And I told him one of the main advantages for sellers, I think, in my opinion, will be that as a seller, you kind of transferring the commission fees and the charges that you have to pay when selling a property the traditional way towards the buyer and asking the buyer to pay for this. In a way, this is a way kind of is changing the way you're selling properties, because now it's a little bit more fair, I think, for the sellers, because right now during a traditional listing, as you know, the seller is going to end up paying all the commissions for the buyer's agent and from the selling agent point. So that's one of the things I think that is one of the major benefits. But the other thing is about the most important factor, in my opinion, on an auction is that buyers are competing the price up whenever they're putting a bid on the property, as opposed to a regular listing where the buyers are competing to go as slow as possible to put an offer on a listing. So the difference is completely different from that point of view, because the buyers are always trying to be the highest bid. Meanwhile, in a traditional listing, will be trying to be the lowest bid. I mean, that's the things I think are major important points from a seller's point of view, to be able to use an auction services and to be able to use this way as an option to sell their properties. But tell me something a little bit more about the seller benefits, Brian. So what do you think are some of the seller benefits of somebody trying to sell the property using an auction, in your opinion?
Yes, well, I think you hit on one of the most important ones, Fernando, is that we are able to push the commission off to the buyer side through the buyer's premium. Now, basically what that does, I mean, the reality is the buyer pays their real estate transaction, is they're the only ones bringing money, right? Whether it's cash or a mortgage or whatever. So, but because we're able to back that commission out on the seller side, what we're able to do is we're now able to reduce the price of the property so that it's more attractive to the buyers. For an example, let's say you have a home that's worth $200,000 and you know, the seller is going to say, well, let's price it around 205 or 210, give us a little room to negotiate. Because it's exactly what you said, Fernando, the buyer expecting to be able to negotiate downward on the price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could take that same $210,000 listing, and since we're backing the commission out, actually place it on the market at say 180, 185, and still achieve the same net as if a buyer paid 205 or 210 because we're some of the cost off. So it kind of just makes sense that now you have a property that's competing with other homes that are similar that are going to be priced at 205 or 215. And now we've got one at 185, which is the identical house. It's going to create a feeding frenzy is what it's going to do. It's going to get more look at your property. And then since it's an auction, what we're doing is the buyer is going to be negotiating upward instead of downward. We're kind of flipping on them is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest advantages. And then of course, I always feel the other advantages are, number one, you don't have to do showings we handle all the showings in one weekend on 2 open houses before the auction so that the buyers have an opportunity to see the property. So you don't have people in and out of your house. You know when the auction is going to be, so you have a set date of when the property is going to sell, you know, assuming that the auction is successful, which it probably will be. So those are huge advantages, and you know, it's just a quicker way to sell your property is what it is.
Exactly.
And since it's a hybrid auction, you also have flexibility. The auction process is only 21 days long. If for some reason it doesn't work out, well, we have the option of doing another auction. We can put it back on the market as a regular listing. We can get you an offer from an investor. We have lots of different ways that we can do it. You're just not locked into something in stone. We use a blackboard so we can erase and make changes as needed.
Yeah, I understand that, and excellent points, Brian. Excellent points, because I'm very excited about, you know, providing the same services over here in Maryland. A lot of my sellers I already talked to that they're waiting to put their houses on the market because of the coronavirus. You know, they say, hey, man, I want to do this because I think this is going to be a great way to sell a property. But I want to just remind, you know, I want to talk to you a little bit about the other end, which will be the buyer's benefits. I believe also from a buyer's perspective, I think a buyer can benefit because their transparency of the offer that they're providing into the house. They know exactly how much to offer. They know that they are the highest bid, as opposed to a traditional offer. When someone is putting an offer, you don't know how far are you from the top, and maybe for $1,000 you may be losing that property. You don't have no idea. For that reason, I think a lot of real estate agents are advising their clients, go ahead and offer much higher to be sure that you're going to be one of the highest offers in case there's a multiple offer situation. So in that way, you know, it's kind of unfair for the buyers side, because they want to pay for the house. They love the house, but they're going to end up paying possibly more money than normal, as opposed to an auction when they're going to know that they're going to be the highest bid, and that's it. They're going to be the ones that are going to be getting the house unless somebody else goes over them. But they're always going to have transparency of how much to offer on a house. And what other benefits do you think is good for buyers, in your opinion, Brian?
Well, I think you hit on the big one. It's the transparency, right? I mean, exactly what you're saying. In a normal real estate transaction, you know, there's nothing more frustrating for a buyer and their agent than this very good offer on a property only to find out they're in a multiple offer situation. And, you know, what they do is they come back and say, well, you've got 24 hours to suggest and best offer. So they're playing in the dark is what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Where on the auction site, yes, when they make a bid, they will actually see all the other bids. They'll know what they'll know if they're in first place or not. they'll know if the reserve has been met, right? If they bid high enough to match the reserve yet. So it's just a real apparent way of purchasing real estate for the buyer. You know, they won't have to wonder if an agent's just saying they have multiple offers, even though they don't really have it. They're just buyer up to try to get them as high as they can, because all of that will be disclosed. They'll be able to see every bidder on the auction site. So I think that's a huge advantage. So, you know, the auction is not going to, it's not going to overcome an overpriced listing, right? Properties still have to be priced properly to work. So I feel that if the buyer's going through the auction, you know, they're going to be pretty good that their offer, if they get accepted, is that the buyer would get, but that the seller would get. So just they're able to see more of what the market's doing. Yeah.
So talking about that, obviously talking about the reserve price that the owner puts on the auction. So basically, a lot of people are asking me when I'm talking to them is that how do I have to sell my property if the bid is lower than I really want? And obviously, that's going to be the reserve price that the home seller, the homeowner puts, and you cannot sell it below that. They put their own number. And is that how you do it in Florida as well, Brian?
Yes, and the because there's actually three prices with an auction, right? You have the market value, which is what we're trying by doing the auction, because it's really up to the buyers, you know, whatever they're willing to pay. When you have enough of them, it kind of determines the value of the property. And then you have the reserve price. Yes, it's kind of the seller's target price, not paying the commission, right? If someone pays me this amount of money, the buyer's going to pay the buyer's premium. And then the other price is the start bid price, right? Which is going to be lower than the reserve. And that's kind of, it's the price using the multiple listing service. It's the listing price of the property. And it's where if someone's bidding, that has to be their minimum bid. They can't bid anything less than that. So, you know, it kind of gives them a range of where the property is going to be. But again, it's very, very transparent. And the highest bidder, for the seller's advantage, they always have the right to accept, reject, or counter, just as in a normal real estate transaction. Even if the reserve it's still up to the seller whether or not they want to accept it. And the reason that is because not all buyers are equal, right? Some buyers are paying cash, some buyers maybe have contingents on properties and stuff. So just like a normal real estate transaction, since we're giving the buyer the advantages of doing home inspections and things like that, opportunity to do their due diligence, we're also giving the seller the opportunity to make a decision on the final offer or not. So we're trying to protect all parties and just make sure that everything's transparent.
Yeah. Also, as far as the marketing, Brian, I know that there is a higher amount of response for doing an open house and an auction property as opposed to a traditional listing, because you know, you're only doing 2 open houses, and this is the only time when they're going to be able to see the property. So because of coronavirus and all that, that's very beneficial to the seller, because they only have to have the house prepared for those 2 days, and not during a traditional listing that somebody may be coming in the morning and the evening time, and tomorrow you're going to be keeping the house clean. It's just a nightmare for people, you know, if you're selling a home. That's a very, very important point. But as far as the open houses, I think because you have this information about an auction property, and there's only 2 times when they're going to be able to see it, you're creating urgency with people. And tell us a little bit about what you told me before about the open houses experiences that you have, how many people you got, and how you were able to cope with the crowds on the type of marketing that you're doing right now.
Sure. Well, that's a good question, Fernando. And yes, the open houses that we've been averaging anywhere from around 50 to 70 buyers per. So we've been getting a lot of traffic into properties. Now, a lot of that was before the lockdowns with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
But what that does, when you're a buyer going to an open house and you see 50 other people in there, it really, really creates urgency, right? Now something exciting event. You've got 50 people that want what you want. So it just really creates a lot of excitement. Now, we had a couple of these scheduled last month, but unfortunately the lockdown for the coronavirus. So basically we switched them over to virtual open houses, which meant that we went through and did video tours. We posted online so that the buyers could do a walkthrough, virtually of the home. And we're also going to be putting Matterport 3D tours and everything on the property. So in this day and age with technology, I mean, I think you can get a really good idea what a property looks like without physically going into it. And I think with all the change going on in the industry right now, it's probably more important now than ever before to limit access to your homes, try to get everyone in at the same time. And just with the auction, even now, for anyone to get into one of our auction properties for an open house, they have to provide us some documentation. We need to make sure that they're qualifiers. We don't just want anyone tramping through your house if they're not going to be qualified. We want to make sure they're signing COVID-19 disclosures and things like that, and masking up and wearing gloves or whatever we need to do to protect everybody.
Yeah.
But the amount of traffic on the open houses has just been phenomenal. And on the virtual open houses, when I had to yank the physical ones, I just ran some ads on Facebook, and I mean, I had hundreds of buyers on each ad that were information. And every time we got them, we were able to send them over to videos and direct them over to the auction site. So, and all of that is related to not only the marketing, but because again, we've got a property priced quite a bit lower than what it's actually worth, because it's an auction. We're able to do that. And that's what's the excitement on the homes.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I think from a marketing perspective, I think, selling a property this way, understanding that you can create so much urgency with the buyers. Everybody gets excited, and then when they start buying, and I was doing some research, Brian, and I talked to you about over 33% of the houses sold in Australia are done via auction, the same method. They're using an auction type of property sale. And the reason why Australians do this is because it is very transparent for both the buyers and the sellers. And I really like that very much. So finally, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, what I think that we have to have buyers who's going to be bidding on these properties. They have to be represented by a realtor, by a licensed realtor within the state. And but tell us a little bit about what you think are the realtor benefits when they're representing a buyer who may want to put a bid on one of these properties, in your opinion. Are you there, Brian? I think I lost you. Okay, well, I think we lost Brian, but anyway, the benefits that I think is coming from the perspective from the real estate agents that are representing these buyers is that they know exactly if their bid is going to be accepted, or so their offer, so they don't have to be writing multiple offers going from listing to listing to listing, because once they know that their bid is getting accepted, then that's exactly when the time when they're going to be able to send that the contract to the agent who's doing the auction, and then go from that point on, and it becomes a traditional sale after that. So those are the main things that I think is going to benefit realtors. So I wanted to bring this to you all, especially talking to Brian. He specializes in auction properties in Orlando, Florida, and we're doing this now and we're doing this now in Maryland, and we like to continue providing the same type of services. I think Bryant is back with us. Hey, Bryant, are you there?
Oh man, yeah, sorry about that.
No problem, man. I know.
I'm having a phone issue. It started doing it like yesterday. It's cutting off on me in the middle of doing stuff. A charge on my battery.
No problem. I was just talking to everybody, and I was just talking about the realtor benefits. So how is this going to benefit them, especially about maybe not going and writing multiple offers and getting denied from place to place. They know exactly that once the bid is getting accepted, they only have to write one single offer and go forward like a regular sale. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. Yeah. And we've had that were interested in our auctions. They were all very, very excited about not having to drive buyers around week after week showing properties, and
Yeah.
they really love the idea of doing the open houses. They love the video open houses. I don't know if agents are ever going to get out showing houses again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Everything, right?
So I just wanted to
But
be able to go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was gonna Sando, I apologize if my phone kicks out on you again. I'll do everything I can to stay online this
Yeah,
time.
no problem. Yeah, well, I wanted to do this interview with you because I think you're an excellent person to talk to as far as providing information about this option that nobody thought about it in the last few months. And now that coronavirus comes and goes, and our world is going to change, I think it's a very important factor for most people to understand that this is a good option, to reduce the number of showings, to create a lot more urgency to sell the property. And at the same time, they already know, and it's very transparent how much exactly they're selling it. And in a way, it's going to work out as a win-win situation for everybody involved. And so is there anything else that you would like to add, Brian, to the mixture of what we talk about it, and or something that I did not ask you about that we think that we should be talking about?
Just real quickly, let me go over the buyer's premium, because I know I mentioned it early, and buyers may not know exactly what that is. But basically, with an auction, because the seller's not paying the real estate commission, the agents, the auctioneer, the auction's paid from the buyer's premium, which can be anywhere from around 5% or 10% of the purchase price. So basically, what that means to a buyer is, take that example of the house that was worth $200,000, right? Well, let's say the buyer wins that auction at 185, and there's a 5% premium. Well, then they would pay an additional $9,200 on top of that price, which would give it to them at 194, which is still under the purchase. But they basically, whatever the percentage of the buyer premium is, you're adding that to the winning bid to create the purchase price, and then the selling costs come out as no regular transaction. That make any sense?
Yeah, definitely. And this is something that a lot of people are asking about. In a way, it's a way.
Yeah. Well, it's important that they know. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. So, Brian, I just wanted to then I know we've been talking for over 30 minutes, I think, but I just wanted to kind of give you my parting thoughts of this. I'm really appreciative for your knowledge as far as auctions and the way that you're inspiring me to provide the same type of services here in Maryland. I'm very excited because I think this is the perfect situation and a perfect option for buyers and sellers alike, especially after the new world that we're going to be walking into after coronavirus, because I think all our lives have going to change, and they're going to change drastically, I think, in a way. And this is a perfect way to get started, to be able to go forward with your plans, whether you want to buy or sell real estate, because I think it's still a great time to buy and sell real estate despite of what's going on with the problems that we have around the country. Because real estate is always, it's always been one of the most stable industries in the world, despite of what happens. Real estates always have a way to always be a good option for people to create wealth. What do you think about that, Brian?
Well, I agree completely, right? I mean, the real estate market is still very strong. I read every day, I think that the listing amount of listings coming on was down about 44% nationwide for April. But, that sellers, right? I mean, less properties on the market means values are probably going to increase a little bit. Buyers are still buying things. I've probably had more buyer activity in the last 2 weeks than I've had 2 months. So yes, it's very, very busy. People always want a place to live, right? You got to live somewhere. Yeah. So with the low interest rates and everything, it just makes sense house today as opposed to paying rent, because you'll do a lot better on a mortgage payment. So yes, I'm very optimistic about the future, and I too am extremely optimistic about this auction. I just feel very confident that we're going to be able to help a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers achieve what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to do awesome. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I told buyers all the time now when I'm talking to them on the phone, you know, I say, you know, you have to pay a mortgage anyway. You're gonna pay the mortgage for your landlord, or you're gonna pay your own mortgage. It doesn't matter whether it's coronavirus or not. You still have to pay a mortgage because you need a place to live. So it's an easy choice as
That's
far
right.
as concentrate on buying a home right now with the low interest that we have right now.
That's right. Well, you're paying for the house either way, so you might as well be on the title, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I'm
Okay.
gonna be ending this video now, and but I will be calling you soon to talk to you a little bit more. Some of the things that we have going on with you, and I'll be calling you in a few minutes. But I appreciate it for coming over here, and I kind of jealous about your weather and the pool. I'm over here right now in front of the computer working, and, but
Well, it makes it real, right? We got to be
yeah,
real.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'll be prepared the next time. I'll put on a shirt.
Okay, Brian.
Good deal,
Okay.
man. And send me the link. And send me
Yeah.
that link to the site too, so I can look at
Okay.
all the work you did.
I will, Brian. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Fernando. Bye bye.